Just recently we did a speed test between the Redmi K30 and the Realme X2. One phone was good at something, the other was good at something else. But not much of a difference overall. There is no clear winner. But that's not going to be the case with this one, the camera test. So let's go ahead find out which one is the ultimate camera phone under 18,000 rupees after you subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon. Before we begin, have a look at these tempered glasses from our sponsor, Glazed Ink. What's special about Glazed Ink is that they have actual 2.5D curved glass along the edges, so the entire screen is covered. No air bubbles or awkward gaps like these, which you might get from installing any other tempered glass in the market. They are also available for most other phones, including the OnePlus 7T and the Redmi Note 8 Pro. So do check out Glazed Ink, link in the description. Use the promo code TJOC to get 10% discount. When the lighting is good, we don't see much of a difference in most cases. If you do some pixel peeping, you can see that the K30's image has a bit more detail. It's slightly sharper. Not a big deal though. The major difference is in the color reproduction. Realme X2 oversaturates everything. And honestly, it looks good in certain instances. The images look more punchy and vivid, but there are many instances where it messes up everything. The images are oversaturated like crazy. The K30 actually oversaturates the greens, but the X2 oversaturates almost every color. It turns orange to red, it turns red to pink, and sometimes while trying to reduce noise, the X2 ends up smudging up the images, so the images lose some details. You cannot see the dirt on this wall because it's completely smoothened out. Or just look at the ground, you'll notice the same thing. Now, this doesn't really happen very frequently. This happens a lot while using the ultra-wide camera though. I'll talk more about that later. Now, the K30 has one disadvantage. It overexposes the entire image by a bit. Like, it's brighter, but not necessarily better. In some cases, the colors look a bit washed out, but I think it still looks better than the X2's oversaturated, over-dramatic images. I mean, this is absolutely nothing like what I saw in real life. Remember, these are 64 megapixel cameras, but all these images are actually just 16 megapixels thanks to pixel binning, which combines every 4 pixels into one by default. That's the nature of the sensor. But these phones do have a dedicated high resolution mode for capturing those super detailed 64 megapixel images. Of course, unless you zoom in, you cannot really find any difference. I shot a bunch of pictures, but only in very few cases I found the K30's images to be slightly sharper. You can figure out the license numbers of these cars here, but in most other cases, images from both phones were almost equally sharp. Now, these phones are also capable of shooting ultra-wide photos with the secondary 8 megapixel cameras. And like I said earlier, the X2's photos lack details as a result of aggressive noise reduction. And it's quite evident when you zoom in. The lines on the wall are not even visible on the X2's photo. Same here. And it gets even worse when the lighting is not great, like when you click something indoors. Now remember, there is also a third functioning camera, which is a 2 megapixel camera which can be used to capture those super close-up shots, commonly known as macro shots. The big and obvious difference is the K30 can go much closer to the subject than the X2 can. Like, these were shot using the main cameras. This is how close the Realme X2 can go with the macro camera, and this is how close the K30 can go. Both are 2 megapixel sensors, so the quality might not be great, but still, if you get it right, if you get the focus right, the results will amaze you. It's a whole new perspective. Next up, portraits. Once again, the X2 oversaturates everything, including the skin tones, which are just too orange. Basically, the X2 makes people look like Donald Trump. The K30's portraits have better details as well, but the edge detection and the background blur are pretty much similar. The K30 has been the better performer so far, at least by a small margin in every case, and the gap only widens further when it comes to low light photography. The K30's images are really good, mostly due to the natural color reproduction and brighter shadows. Shadows are nothing but the darker regions of an image, like the middle of this tree, the side of the car, this tree bark, the sky in this one. And in every case, the K30 performs better, producing detailed images with bright and clear shadows. The X2 doesn't really capture as much details. Look at the road here, it's totally smooth and smudged up. You can notice the same behavior in this image as well. Look at the bark of this tree. And when you enable night mode on the K30 and nightscape mode on the X2, things become better for both phones, but the differences remain somewhat the same. The K30 still captures more details and produces much brighter shadows. Look at the terrace and the construction area. The X2's images also have a bit of green tint in some pictures, which messes with the colors a bit. When it comes to ultra-wide photos in these poor lighting conditions, the K30 is much better. You can notice that a lot of details are missing on the X2's images. They are very soft and smudged up. I know I'm using soft and smudged up so many times in this video, but that's how it is. These are terrible images. But the thing is, the Realme X2's nightscape mode works even with the ultra-wide camera. So we see less noise, more details, and more often than not, the images are also slightly sharper than the K30's images. When it comes to selfies, the Realme X2's 32 megapixel camera does a better job. Just like the X2 did not capture the shadows perfectly, here the K30's 20 megapixel selfie camera struggles to do the same. As in, the K30 selfies are a little too contrasty, so the shadows are kind of dark. Okay, forget all this technical stuff. Overall, the X2 selfies look noticeably better. The tones are balanced, the colors are good. And it's worth mentioning that all sorts of beauty modes were disabled on both phones. The K30 and the X2 are capable of shooting 4K videos at 30 frames per second. And yeah, you probably figured out that the X2 doesn't support stabilization at 4K resolution. It's very obvious here, the K30's footage is a lot more stable. I won't deny that the X2 has a chance of getting the stabilization feature via an OTA update in the future, but right now this is what it looks like. And the difference in detail levels can be seen here as well. It's definitely not obvious like it was with ultra-wide images, but still here and there you can notice the difference in the amount of details. Look at the wall, for instance. Both phones have a bunch of slow motion options. This is 1080p at 120 fps. The K30's clip has higher detail levels and better colors, but I think you would most probably use the 240 fps option even though the resolution goes down to 720p. Here, again, if you see closely, you can notice that the K30's clip is slightly sharper. Look at those trees, the road, the colors are also more natural on the K30's clip. Look at the auto's yellow color for reference. And most importantly, there is a 960 fps super slow motion mode on both phones. The resolution is again just 720p, and here the K30 performs far better. It uses interpolation to generate new frames in between existing frames. But on the other hand, the X2 just duplicates the existing frames. That's why the X2's clip stutters a lot. The K30's clip is a lot smoother. So overall, on the video front, the K30 has been dominating. Even still images, for ultra-wide images under low light and selfies, the X2 is superior. But for pretty much everything else, the K30 is either slightly better or considerably better. Now let me clarify something here. The rear cameras on both phones are almost equally capable. Wherever we saw a huge difference, such a huge difference is not supposed to be there. It's all mostly dependent on the software processing, and that's something Realme should definitely work on. What do you think? Like, your perspective could be different. Maybe you like those super oversaturated pictures. And remember I said some pictures have less noise but also less details because it's getting smudged up. Maybe you prefer less noise. So let me know your thoughts in the comment section. So that's it. Subscribe, hit the bell icon. Totally up to you. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one. Bye.